Hi, Christ bless. My name is Sister Sarah from the House of Soldier Timothy from IUIC Japan. So today I wanted to go over some information concerning the many health benefits of both nursing your baby and giving natural birth. One of our foremothers was a great example of doing both of these, and her name is Jochebed. You can find her in the book of Exodus chapter 2. She is the mother of Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. So all praises for that. So a little bit about me and my background. So I have degrees in psychology, human development and family studies, marriage therapy, medical marriage therapy, as well as currently studying for my PhD in forensic psychology. So I have looked at previously the benefits of nursing and breastfeeding and how these physical health benefits from both can positively also impact your psyche, your mental health. So I'm just going to share some of these benefits with you, and hopefully you will make a better choice of choosing to nurse your baby and not give it powder or liquid formula, and that you will also choose natural birth as opposed to C-section. Now, the reason why I use the word choose natural birth as opposed to C-section is because we do understand that sometimes things happen during the birthing process that could be dangerous for either the mother or the baby, and a C-section must be the option, right? But for those of you who have a choice and are considering to do a C-section, not because of a medical condition, not because it could possibly cause harm to you or your baby, but because you think it may be easier to do a C-section, hopefully by the end of this, you will not do it. It shouldn't be a choice of yours. And before I get started as well, I just want to say I am not a medical doctor. Please consult with your husband first. And after that, talk to your doctor if you have further questions or you want to find out more information. This is only for informational purposes, to give you some things to think about when choosing the best choices for you and your family. So first, we're going to talk about natural birth. There are so many benefits to natural birth. I can't include it all in this video or else I'd be talking all day. So I'm just going to give you a brief couple benefits that I thought really stuck out to me, and hopefully they'll stick out for you too. One of them is you will have a quicker recovery if you choose natural birth as opposed to C-section. Your recovery will be much faster. Another one is you will decrease the chances of having to use medical interventions. What do I mean? It could be the anesthesia that's needed for a C-section. It could be the antibiotics that now you have to take because you risk infection or you have an infection from your C-section. Well, if you do natural birth, you don't have to worry about those two things. Another thing is that it's safer for the baby. Imagine this. You're laying there, you're getting your C-section, the doctor is with his knife cutting you open from something you chose to do, right? And he accidentally cuts your baby. That's terrifying, right? So if you have the choice to do natural birth, choose that. It's safer for the baby. Another benefit is that your labor could be faster as opposed to a C-section. You also lower the risk of certain disorders for both you and your baby, such as cardiovascular disorders, breathing issues, anything to do with the cardiovascular health. You could reduce and lower your risk for that tremendously, actually. As well as breastfeeding is going to be easier. Why? There could be things that happen during your C-section that can hinder your ability to breastfeed. And if you give natural birth, you'll be able to breastfeed your child at an earlier time instead of waiting until you have recovered because something may have happened. Another benefit is the enhancement of the baby's brain development. What do I mean by that? Well, there's a little fun fact. When you are giving birth and your baby is about to come out, right before it comes out, your body gives it a parting gift. What is that parting gift? It gives it proteins that are going to help with its brain development. However, if you choose to get a C-section, your baby won't get that because these proteins are only released right before you give birth. It's amazing. Alright, next we're going to talk about C-sections. So I found a couple facts, and in the 1990s, there was approximately 1 out of 10 women who did get a C-section, whether it was by choice or they had a medical condition where they didn't have a choice but to have a C-section. But in 2014, which is only about 24 years later, 1 in 5 women get C-sections. And some of this increase could be due to women now choosing to have a C-section because they may think it's easier. They don't want to go through the pains of bearing a child. However, there are some negative effects to choosing a C-section that I'm going to go over now. So one of those things is that the colonization of the microbiotas in your baby's gut are going to be altered. Later on in this presentation, I'm going to go over what microbiotas are, because you may be saying, what is she talking about? Don't worry, I will explain shortly. So, because the colonization of the gut microbiotas in the baby are altered, this can lead to obesity later in life, as well as other health conditions like asthma, heart problems, breathing issues. So the baby could have like kind of a negative head start to life, right? Also, you will have a longer recovery time. So you just had major surgery, because a C-section is major surgery, and now your recovery time is going to be longer than if you would have given natural birth. The pain of having to walk and to get up. And mothers who have been through a C-section know exactly what I'm talking about. It is excruciating, it is painful. There are some things that you're going to need help with. And if you don't have to do a C-section, why put yourself through that? Another risk is that you could get an infection in your wound. You were just cut open, you could get an infection, and then now you got to have more medical interventions, medications to help you. You may have to go back and get more stitches. It could just not be good. Another risk factor is that you are less likely to begin breastfeeding early. As I mentioned before, because you're recovering something, it could hinder your ability to breastfeed as early as you may want to. Another thing is that you're going to be in the hospital longer. Who wants to stay in the hospital longer than what they need to? Sometimes the food is not good. It's cold. You have all these nurses coming in at different times of the day and night. You're trying to rest, you know? You want to be in the comforts of your home. So why extend your stay? Another thing is that if you've had one C-section, more than likely your consecutive births, your other births that you have following that, are going to also be C-section as well. And like I mentioned before, you have an increase of cardiovascular issues for both you and your baby by choosing to do a C-section. So now I'm going to talk about breastfeeding. We're going to talk about benefits of breastfeeding for both the mother and the child. We're going to talk a little bit more about that new word, microbiotas, and I'm going to introduce something new as well called cytokines. Cytokines. Alright, so health benefits of breastfeeding. Your heart health will be increased. The chances of you developing diabetes, and this for you and your baby, are going to be reduced. Blood pressure is going to be reduced just by breastfeeding. Cardiovascular diseases, the chances of you developing them are going to be reduced. And when you breastfeed, it lowers your stress level hormones, which is going to increase your ability to bond with your baby, is going to cause you to be more relaxed, and it's a loving thing to hold your baby and to breastfeed. There's a connection there that you get to build with your baby. So now, microbiotas. So microbiotas consist of many like bacteria and viruses and fungi and protozoas. So they are crucial to the development of your baby's immune system. So sometimes you may hear the words immature immune system or mature immune system. So immature immune system is usually what they refer to as a baby's immune system because they just came into the world. They haven't been exposed to many different environments where they're getting exposed to different bacteria and viruses. So their immune system has not been able to develop the proper defenses. Whereas a mature immune system would be like an older child who's been places, who's gone to the playground or been at a daycare and things like that, or even an adult who has a more mature immune system. However, if you choose to breastfeed, you have just given your baby a mature immune system. They are given the microbiotas that they need, those bacteria that are in the breast milk that are going to go into your baby and is going to go into their gut and build a healthy gut barrier for your child, which means their immune system is going to be better. They're not going to get sick as often. They're not going to get as many infections. Their body is going to be able to fight it because they've built up that immune system that they truly need. Now on the flip side, if you choose to feed your baby formula, whether it be liquid or whether it be powder, you have just significantly decreased their immune system because they're not getting those microbiotas that they need. So now we're going to talk about cytokines. Now I know this is a very strange word. I remember at the university when they said we had to study on this and how it impacts our immune system and breastfeeding and babies, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Never even heard of this. But it's something that is important and just a little bit of extra information that I wanted to share with you. So there are two types of cytokines. There's your anti-inflammatory type. This is going to be if your body is exposed to some type of virus or some type of sickness, your immune system is going to respond. And your cytokines are responsible for that response. They help to regulate your body's responses to inflammation and your body's response to infections. They also help with traumas and injuries. So if you hit your leg on something and the area becomes swollen, that is a form of inflammation. Your cytokines are responsible for that. However, on the opposite side, your cytokines can also promote inflammation. How? Well, if you eat a lot of processed foods, if you eat foods that have preservatives in it, these can cause your body to have unnecessary inflammation, which is not good for your health. What does that have to do with breastfeeding and nursing your baby? Well, if you give your baby formula from the store, it could be powder or liquid, this actually increases your child's level of cytokines that are pro-inflammation. So by the time your baby is 1 month old, your baby already has inflammation. Now this was found in many studies, and I really found that information interesting, how a 1 month old can have inflammation already. That's not okay. So please consider these things when you're choosing to give your baby formula. Please choose the healthy route of nursing your child and giving it breast milk. You do have a choice in some cases where you can choose to either give natural birth or you can choose a C-section. Clearly, I hope it's clear that you shouldn't choose a C-section. Those are for people who have some type of medical condition where it's life-threatening and maybe they have to. It's an emergency, something that it needs to be decided right then. But if you don't have to get a C-section, why would you choose that? Choose natural birth. It's healthier, this is our culture, and there's so many health benefits to both you and your baby. Another thing to consider is sacrificing your own comfortability so that your baby can have a healthy head start, so that their brain development can be top-notch as soon as they come out the womb, because your baby, immune system, brain development, everything really kicks off when you give birth. Natural birth, that is. So consider these things. Like I said, talk to your doctor if you have any questions, talk to your husband. discuss these things and ponder on this information and hopefully make the healthy choice by exercising more, looking at your diet, choosing natural birth, and choosing to breastfeed. So I hope this helps you, and I hope that you do make the healthy choice. Shalom.